Hello, I'm Aiden Taylor, and today I'm going to be turning myself into a vintage moon in celebration of Halloween. The idea for this costume is based off of some of my original Halloween folk art characters, specifically the moon. I've had the idea to turn myself into one of my pieces of art for quite a while, and I figured what better time than the Halloween special. To begin, I'm going to be creating the head of this character out of paper mache using a simple glue and water mixture. Starting with a large balloon, I begin to apply my first layer. I chose to use orange streamers for this as it will leave a nice orange interior once I remove the balloon later. Once it was dry, I cut strips of a heavier paper and used this to coat the balloon 3 more times, allowing it to dry overnight in between each layer. Now that I have a somewhat sturdy base, it's time to start building up the details for the face. I start by sketching out the face directly on the balloon. This will help to give me a guide as I form the shapes for the face out of aluminum foil. Now, when working with aluminum foil, I like to burnish the surface with a metal spoon as it gives me a much smoother surface to sculpt on top of later. I applied each of the face shapes with hot glue and began to apply another layer of paper. It was right around here that I realized the head was far too flimsy to hold its own weight, so I decided to add an additional 3 layers of cheesecloth using the same glue and water mixture to help add some stability to the head. Now that everything is completely dry, I cut out the eye sockets using a knife and begin to mix a batch of celluclay. Now, I absolutely love using celluclay. It's one of my absolute favorite clays to sculpt with. In fact, it's what I use for all of my folk art characters. It's very easy to use as you just mix it with water. I like to use a food processor for this as it helps to blend out the lumps in the clay. I was able to use this to mask over the rough areas left by the cheesecloth, as well as sculpt up the craters of the moon. Before I can start painting, I have to seal the surface of any exposed cheesecloth by applying a generous coat of gesso. For the paint job, I start with a base coat of caramel brown, followed by various layers of dry brushing in different shades of yellow. Starting with the deepest yellow and working my way to the lightest, this is really going to help bring out all of the details and texture in the clay and give us a moon-like rock texture. Next, I begin adding all the little details to really bring this character to life. Now that I'm completely finished with the paint job, it's time to make his eyes. Using hot glue, I attach sheets of black mesh just behind the eye sockets. I then cut 2 rounds of cardboard and painted them to look like eyeballs. I attached these to the mesh inside the eyes. I did this so that I could see through the eyes instead of just painting them on. With the head complete, I begin dyeing some cotton fabric for the body of the costume. I am rather picky when it comes to shades of orange that I like for Halloween, so I decided it would be best for me to dye the cloth myself. I had to mix 2 shades of dye to get the desired color, but in the end I was left with the perfect shade of orange. For the body of this costume, I had the idea to create this vintage style black and orange clown suit, but I am an absolute beginner when it comes to sewing, so for this I enlisted the help of my mom, who happens to be a fantastic seamstress. She was able to draft a pattern by tracing around some of my clothes. Now that the entire costume is complete, I watered down some brown acrylic paint and splattered this all over the entire garment. This will help age it just a bit for a more vintage look. I truly did have to trust the process with this project, but in the end, I am so pleased with the results. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss out on the next one. Thank you so much for watching, and have a happy Halloween.